David had just bought a new bicycle, but shortly after he started riding it, the chain broke. As he bent down to fix it, he suddenly saw something that would change his life forever. In that moment, David had a bold idea to put an engine on the bicycle and create an unprecedented mode of transportation. Excited, he shared this inspiration with his good friend Harley, but Harley, who had studied engineering, thought it was simply impossible. At David's insistence, the two snuck into an opera house. Suddenly, a beautiful woman appeared, riding a three-wheeled motorcycle. While everyone else was focused on the woman, Harley was captivated by the engine under her legs. He quickly pulled out a notebook and jotted down every detail. Unfortunately, they were soon discovered by security, and after getting slapped, they were kicked out. Luckily, Harley was able to successfully recreate the design of the motorcycle engine from memory. They then approached the owner of a local bicycle factory, hoping to gain support. However, after just a glance at the blueprints, the owner refused. In his eyes, David and Harley were just a couple of young guys. David tried to negotiate investment by offering naming rights, saying the owner would get top billing and a larger share of equity, but the owner still declined, believing the bicycle frame couldn't handle that much power. Little did he know, he was passing up the opportunity to get rich. With no one willing to invest, David transformed an abandoned shed at home into the starting point for realizing their dream. Lacking materials to manufacture an engine, they stole scrap parts from the factory where they worked, even bribing an old foreman with fine liquor to secretly use the plant's equipment to make an engine casing. Until one day, David got caught by a coworker while stealing parts. To maintain order in the factory, his older brother, who was a supervisor, had no choice but to beat David up in front of everyone. Although his brother was unhappy with David's behavior, he still let him take the parts. And so, with those stolen components, the two finally managed to piece together their first motorcycle engine. David poured in the gasoline while Harley nervously cranked the starter handle. Just when they thought they had succeeded, the engine exploded. Those parts simply couldn't handle it. They couldn't use scrap parts anymore, but at this point, they had no money to buy more precise components. At a loss for what to do, David suddenly thought of his cousin Walter. Not only did Walter own hundreds of acres of farmland, he was also a railway mechanic. With his help, their problems could be easily solved. So David had Harley write a letter to his cousin on his behalf, saying, "If you have the guts to come ride it, he's willing to pay some interest. We're estimating selling about 100 units initially." This exaggerated description made Walter curious, so he packed his bags, ready to come investigate. However, when he first set foot in his cousin's small workshop and saw the bicycle that could barely be considered half-finished, Walter felt he had been tricked. But just as he was about to leave, the blueprints on the wall caught his eye. The sophisticated structural designs, every line, revealed the designer's talent and understanding of mechanics. Walter was convinced by Harley's natural gift. He began to re-examine the project and ultimately decided to stay. As an experienced railroad engineer, Walter quickly identified the engine's issues, such as it constantly stalling out and the rear wheel's tendency to drop the chain. He advised Harley to change the ignition timing and suggested replacing the chain with the same type of belt used on tractors. Although it would sacrifice some aesthetic refinement, it would effectively solve the problems. After that, with their efforts, they not only perfected the engine's performance, but also successfully installed it on the bicycle. The world's first Harley motorcycle was born. With excitement, they moved this masterpiece outside and began testing. As the engine started up, they had finally succeeded. Walter also eagerly took it for a test ride. In that era when bicycles were prevalent, his motorcycle immediately attracted everyone's attention. He quickly rode out to the suburbs, chasing the wind of freedom across the grasslands, until the gas tank ran dry twice. Only then did Walter, still not fully satisfied, push the motorcycle back to the workshop. He excitedly told David, "We need to hurry up and develop the next generation of motorcycles to seize the initiative in the immature civilian market." Then he asked Harley if it was possible to make the motorcycle faster. Harley confidently told him, "If we have sufficient funding, I can even make it run faster than a car." Hearing this, Walter had no more hesitation. He took out all his savings and even decided to sell the farm to fully support them, because during that ride just now, he had already seen the future of Harley motorcycles. He wanted to ride a Harley anywhere, and this phrase would later become the soul of Harley-Davidson. Just as they were devoted to developing a more powerful engine, their friend Eddie suddenly appeared riding a motorcycle called an Indian. At that time, Indian was already a household name as a major bicycle manufacturer, but now they had also joined the ranks of motorcycle R&D teams. This made them sense a crisis, and forced Harley to work overtime designing blueprints. After consecutive all-nighters, Harley finally developed the next-generation motorcycle frame and engine, but the problem of the carburetor constantly flooding and supplying too much fuel to the engine remained unresolved. Just as he was at his wit's end about this, his mother suddenly handed him a letter from a university. Harley nervously opened it, and inside was the college acceptance they had long been hoping for. His mother excitedly hugged her son, But when he told the other two partners, Walter flew into a rage on the spot, because he had already put everything into this project. Now the core designer was going to quit. He couldn't accept it. A week later, the town was preparing to hold a motorcycle acceleration race hosted by none other than Hyundai, the big boss of Indian motorcycles. He said it was a fair competition, and whoever won would have a chance to get his $100,000 investment. But everyone understood this was just a show Hyundai was putting on to promote Indian motorcycles. To demonstrate his own motorcycle's performance to the crowd, Walter recklessly cranked the throttle, resulting in the engine immediately blowing a cylinder and catching fire. This scene elicited ridicule and doubt from those around them, but it also made them realize they needed an engineer who understood the technology. But where would they find such a person? This exciting movie is called Harley and the Davidsons.